Hello and welcome back to this brand new episode of the Silmarillion Film Project. After a bit of a break, we are so happy to be back tonight. It's a beautiful but warm evening out here in Southern California. I'm curious to hear what it's like with where my fellow compatriots are. And as usual, that is Corey Olson, the Tolkien professor, and Trish Lambert, the Tolkien maven. How are y'all this lovely evening?
We do kind of have the whole country covered, don't we? Corey's on the
We
East
do.
Coast. I'm in
Coast
Central.
to coast.
Coast to coast. That's right.
I bet it's
How's
warmer
the
where you are, Trish.
I was gonna
It
say,
is
well, how's the
warmer where I am.
summer?
Yeah.
How's the tail end of the summer treating y'all?
Yeah. It actually we're starting to get the end of day, thunderclouds. Like we went
Uh-huh.
through like July and August with none of that. Zip, nothing. And now it's kind of like that's happening, which I think is a precursor to fall. That's what I choose to believe.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we actually have the leaves are starting to change here.
Whoa.
Here in New Hampshire. So yeah, I was just seeing my first yellows and oranges. The swamp maples, which are always the first to go, are starting to turn red. So it's actually like legitimately creeping towards fall here in New Hampshire. So
Wow, fall, a
yeah,
concept I'm no longer familiar with.
yes, genuinely autumn. It's my favorite thing about living in New England. Not just fall, but like seasons. Like we have
Yeah,
four legitimate seasons, just like you always had in the children's picture books. So
right.
But
it's nice.
it's also relative because I spent like 2 years living on a sailboat down in the tropics. And in the tropics, all you have is wet season, dry season, and the sun
Right.
rises at 6 and sets at 6 every day of the year. And so I moved out to San Diego where I had lived for years, and I moved out to San Diego, and I said to somebody, God, it's so great to be back where there's seasons. And the person looked at me like I was insane.
Right.
Completely lost perspective.
So it's all
That's
relative,
It is relative.
True. True. So we're here as always to actually discuss the Silmarillion.
Yeah,
and
we
not the
thought we
weather.
would here tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we're kind of easing into it.
we're getting towards the end of the season. So tonight we're planning to discuss episodes 11 and 12. We resolved a bunch of our dragon questions last time. Talked a lot about Glaurung in the previous episode. And we're now here to talk about a couple, one or two sort of larger plot issues or sort of, adaptation questions. But then specifically trying to work through how we go through the stuff that we want to cover in episodes 11 and 12. If you remember, and this was in real time, of course, for the people who are listening on the podcast stream, they're like, it was just the previous episode. What are you talking about? But for us, it was like 5 weeks ago or something that we talked about episode 10, which is when we had the visions from Ulmo to Turgon and Finrod, right? So that's what we were immediately following up on. Episode 11 is when the two of them, Turgon and Fingon, begin to make their plan, or Finrod rather, sorry, begin to make their plans about, what are we going to do about this whole advice of Ulmo, this message we received in the dream about building these secret strongholds. So, and of course, we are going to have some serious interpersonal drama in Doriath involving the episode in which I think that episode 11 might be, I hesitate to say this because it's a little bit pitiful, but it might be the high point, the heroic high point of Celeborn's entire life. Trying to think of when Celeborn is going to do anything more spectacular than he's going to do in this episode, and that is stand up to Thingol, who's still all mad about the ban, and be like, not only am I not sorry that I didn't tell you about the kinslaying, but I'm going to marry the girl. So there, King Thingol, and that's it. Like that, he's going to take a stand and he's going to stand up for Galadriel, and it's going to be great. And then he's going to be living in her shadow for, millennia and millennia to come. But this is his moment.
But it could be okay with him, Now
moment.
he can go start a garden and just
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a long coast towards retirement from here. Celeborn.
it is interesting actually because he is the one that stays behind, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he stays
yeah.
behind at the end and takes over Rivendell. So it's like maybe he eventually did kind of get tired of like just being in the shadow. I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? I mean, you'd sort of think if there is an elf in Middle Earth who's like, all right, I'm really kind of done with this. I'm kind of
I
bored. Not
know.
gonna lie, right? Ready to move on to somewhere
And you
different.
totally
You'd
would think
think
when
that would
his
be
wife
Celeborn.
goes, I mean, he's been like joined at the hip with her, right? And he
Right.
doesn't go with her. That's very odd.
So, but instead he chooses a little space for himself, as you say. So good. Oh, hang on a
Oh,
second.
can't hear you in Twitch. Dave and
Yeah,
I,
it's not
they can hear
doing it.
Dave.
Okay, hang on a second. I gotta fix that again.
See, this is
So
what
they,
happens when you
so does that
want to
mean
get all
they?
techie.
Does
Yeah.
that mean there was just like a long pause followed by Trish and me cackling?
Yeah,
Laughing.
that's exactly what they're hearing. Yeah, that's it.
Oh man, you guys missed a good
Absolutely.
joke too. I
Oh
did
yeah.
tweet it, so
Yeah,
you
so
want
Yeah.
to
I'm
catch
having
up.
mic issues. My mic is like
Well,
semi-dead, so
so while he's doing that, I mean, I still feel for Celeborn. Maybe it's my love of the underdog. I don't know. Poor guy.
I am.
no, he's great. And there's
Honestly,
more we can do. There's more we can do. We can definitely make it
True.
happen.
Well, we do have other stuff coming up. I mean, before the Fellowship meets him, so yeah, he could be taking part in some pretty
we
heavy
can
duty stuff.
we can try to give him some heroic action. Well, they're still not hearing me in Twitch. Doggone it, what's going on here? Hang on.
Bummer.
it does raise.
Rihanna says, The Adventures of Celeborn and Angrod.
We'll make a spin-off buddy film, right? Yeah.
And Bob Way, right. Bob Way still is alive. He's my storage elf on Lotro.
There you go.
Does he stick around in Rivendell?
Who, Bob Way?
Yeah, after everybody's left.
He's lost, isn't he? I mean, didn't we lost him? He probably should. Maybe he's always been like, maybe he was the pointing elf or something. That nobody actually knew it was
Yes.
Bob Way.
I like that. I like that idea.
Okay, let's see. Am I audible now? I think so. Looks like I got it.
Good.
Okay.
Now they can't hear us, probably, right?
Y'all can hear me? No, they can hear you. I was trying not to mess with that. No? Anything? Hang on a second. Let me look at the actual.
Can
Twitch
anybody
chat
hear
here.
Corey on Twitch?
Bueller.
Okay, good now. All right.
Dave and I,
Okay.
you owe me a Coke, Dave.
Yep.
All right, cool. Excellent. Very good. Yeah, no, we're all audible
Yeah, we're all
on
good on
GoToWebinar. It's a
Yeah.
Woohoo!
complicated scenario there. But okay, all right. That is all set now. So,
And Marie's here, thank God.
and Marie's here. Yeah, actually, really, I was just killing time until Marie arrived. So, no, just kidding. Okay. Whew. All right. Sorry. Thank you for being patient during those technical issues. And no, good. So, but before we get too far going and make more fun of Celeborn than we already have, just a few quick announcements, mostly moot related. So we have 2 upcoming moots. We've got New England Moot, which is our first ever New England Moot, finally, and that is happening on September 29th, Sunday, September 29th in Amherst, Massachusetts. So that is going to be just a couple weeks from now. So that's going to be really exciting. I can't wait to get together with folks from up here in this region. And then Middle Moot, our third Middle Moot, is going to be on Saturday, October 12th, out in Waterloo, Iowa, again, like the first one was. And both of those, the registration is open. The registration will remain open for New England Moot pretty much until the day of the event. But if you want to make sure you get lunch, you need to register at least 3 days in advance. So, but do go ahead and register for that. The schedule is now posted on the Middle Moot page. So that's very, very handy. We have several things also that are coming up. We've got some other moots. Magnolia Moot is in fact happening. We don't have a firm date for that yet, but it's either going to be the last Saturday of October or the first Saturday of November. So that's the area. It'll be down in the Charlotte, North Carolina region again. as well. So that's going to be fun. And then we're actually, before we do LA Moot, we're going to do Bay Moot. Bay Moot is shifting. It was in August last year. It's going to be in November this year. And we're looking most likely towards the end of November. So like the weekend before Thanksgiving is the one that we're looking at probably for Bay Moot. We will be confirming those things as soon as we have very definite information there. But we're getting closer all the time on confirming those two things. LA Moot, we're looking at the end of February this year. So, that
one's looking pretty good.
Looking pretty good. I'm very excited about that. And of course, Tex Moot. Tex Moot is also going to happen earlier in February. So on the 8th of February is when Tex Moot's going to be.
Goodness.
And then, so I'm going to be visiting both of your 2 states in the month of February this coming year. So that's going to be cool.
My goodness.
Yeah. So anyway, and one other piece of Moot announcement is that we have some details for Myth Moot 7 coming up next June. We have dates, so you can save the date for next Myth Moot, which is going to be the 25th through 28th of June next year. So those dates are confirmed in the same venue down in Leesburg, Virginia. So that is exciting. We have a theme. The theme is derived from a quote from the Diary of Anne Frank. The theme is defying and defining the darkness. Defying and defining the darkness is the theme of next year's Myth Moot. So 25th through the 28th.
That seems perfectly timed for just in time for the 2020 election.
There you go.
Boy,
doing
that's
both of
true.
those things.
No kidding.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, and so let me just, yeah, here it is. Okay, so if you go to Signum University website, down here, of course, where all of our upcoming events are, and just to show you, here is our the dates for Myth Moot 7. We are definitely doing Mootcast again, so you can plan on that. And also, we have the rates are not going to change either. So the ticket prices are going to be the same for Myth Moot this year as they were, or next year as they were this year. So that's the other thing we can announce there. These are the places where you click on to go to the web pages where you can, so you will see the link to register for either Middle Moot or for New England Moot. And the last thing, this is a thing which was just announced. Brenton Dickinson, one of our faculty members, is teaching a class on C.S. Lewis. And he's doing an open class session on C.S. Lewis, gender, and C.S. Lewis's book, The Four Loves, which is going to be really, really cool. So that's going to be next week, next Tuesday, September 17th at 7 o'clock. So if you want to join in a discussion of C.S. Lewis and C.S. Lewis's definitions of love, and especially thinking about how that relates to gender, some really fun discussion I think will be happening there. So that'll be again next Tuesday, September 17th at 7 o'clock. And again, the registration link is right there. You can click on that, and that's all. Cool. So okay, all right. That is
all right. Back to Celeborn.
Oh wait, and the last announcement: Philip Menzies is looking for singers. So Philip Menzies, of course, is our resident composer. He's been composing the music for Film since season 1, and he has some vocal parts that he wants to fill. He's written music, but he needs singers. So he's asking people to contact him to actually record some sung parts, and he can give you more details on that. I've been seeing this happening on Twitter too. So you can contact him on Twitter, or you can contact him on the discussion boards as well, and volunteer if you would like to sing as part of the
The thread on the message board is called Singers Wanted.
Singers Wanted.
Easy to spot.
Okay, cool. All right.
All right, back to Celeborn.
Episode 11. Okay, so here are the potential events for this episode. So we've got Finrod going to Doriath and seeking aid from Fingon in response to Ulmo's dream, and despite the ban. Let's hang on to that one. I want to do all the Doriath stuff at the same time. Let's start with Turgon. So Turgon finds Tumladen with Ulmo's help. So Ulmo is going to guide Turgon to the hidden valley of Tumladen so that he can begin his secret construction of Gondolin. We need to. One of the things we need to do here is figure out how that happens. How is it indeed that Ulmo is going to appear to Turgon? Ulmo is going to appear to Turgon twice more, like not counting the dream that he's just had. He is going to help Turgon find Tumladen, and he is going to show up to tell Turgon to leave the armor and stuff, right? He's got to leave like specifications for the armor and stuff and tell him where to, so that Tuor can find it, right, later on. It is on Ulmo's express instructions that Turgon is going to leave that. Personally, and that's not going to happen in this episode, but again, just thinking ahead to that, because we've got to think about how is Ulmo going to be interacting with Turgon.
I have a question, and some of the episodes, especially the most recent ones, I've sort of have left a little early, so this may have been covered. But I mean, is Ulmo just going to show up out of nowhere, or are we going to have some backstory? And like, is there going to be a chat that he has with like Mandos or something that explains why he suddenly shows up for these guys, or? I mean, it's a little Deus Ex Machina. Sorry for the. You know what I mean? It's like, it's Ulmo. Right. I haven't seen you for a while. I mean,
we didn't. Now, okay. So on the one hand, I don't think we need to explain it from the point of view of like Finrod and
the Valar
and Turgon. No, I'm thinking the other way. The other way around.
Right,
so like Turgon and Finrod have dreams, right? And they wake up believing that Ulmo has revealed this to them. I don't imagine that. I mean, they're not going to treat it casually. They're not going to be like, oh yeah, like I woke up and I've got Ulmo texted me overnight and I got to get back to him. Like, it's not going to be casual. It's going to be a big deal. But I don't think they're going to be like, dude, what is Ulmo's motive? Why is he doing this? Like, they're not going to, in that sense, I think they're not going to care. They're going to be glad that they're getting some kind of guidance from the Valar, and I'm not sure that they have enough data to be able to draw conclusions about what does this mean about the Valar as a whole, right? But they knew the Valar well enough to know that Ulmo kind of does his own thing, right? So it's not going to be shocking to them, I think, for that Ulmo is, so they're like, okay, we were, kind of banished, and there was that ugly scene, right, with the whole doom of Mandos and everything. But, okay, so Ulmo is going rogue and sending us messages and trying to help us out. That's cool, and that's cool in a particularly Ulmo-ish way, right? I don't think that, so that strikes me as the kind of thing that they would likely, I don't know, either not anticipate in the sense that they're like, oh, finally Ulmo. But again, that they would not be absolutely shocked about.
But I'm talking about it really from the viewer standpoint, right? Where we haven't really seen much of the Valar.
Right. Yeah. No, that's the part that I do think is more interesting, right? Now, Rhiannon points out, and this is it's very, very true. The elves are already aware that the Valar haven't utterly abandoned them. Thorondor showing up to help save Maedhros establishes that, and that was like episode 1 of this season. So we start the season with intervention from the Valar, still relatively low key, like not a we're going to send armies, not a we're going to show up and haul off Morgoth or something like that, but we're going to send the Eagle to come and rescue Maedhros and Fingon, and now we have another intervention from the Valar in the latter stages, not the very end, but in the latter stages of the season, in order to to show them. But Trish, I agree. I think it's extremely interesting to think about, do we want to show an Ulmo scene, like a Valinor scene?
Like, what would prompt him to decide to do this? What is it that he's seeing or hearing, or what are they talking about that's like, geez, I think, we don't intervene much, or Mando's saying, I don't want you to go directly to them. You need to find another way to warn them, and he chooses to use dreams. Or something, I don't know, something like that. I know in the book it's like, of course this would happen, but
right, yeah, no, and I mean, there's a sense, and this is of course made much more explicit in the speech that Ulmo gives to Tuor in the book, not the Book of Lost Tales, in the Unfinished Tales version, the the disastrously unfinished tour and the coming of the coming to Gondolin version of the story. Still, I think at the very top of the things I really wish that Tolkien didn't finish, that I really wished he had. But in the part of it that we do get, he does cover the meeting between Ulmo, not Ulmo and Turgon, but Ulmo and Tuor. And when Ulmo shows up to Tuor, he gets awful chatty in that version of the story. I mean, he really spills about, I mean, more than we see anywhere else, about sort of the political situation. And he's pretty quick. He's going rogue, and he doesn't care, right? So a scene in which we kind of see that happening, I don't think he should be going against Mandos, because I think that undermines Mandos.
No, that's right. I think almost it should maybe an agreement. Like Marie points out, Manwë and Ulmo have an understanding of Ulmo's involvement in Middle-earth. So it could actually be the opposite, which is Mandos feels that something, you know, they need to be warned, and it would be Ulmo would be the person to do it, right? That it would be more that Mando's agreement that Ulmo would be the conveyor of the message.
Now, who would be against it? Who would be over there? I think Aule, right? Aule's still the one really, really mad at the Noldor, right? And so, you know, I think maybe Aule, and I don't know, maybe Tolkas. I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else. Who would be?
Would Mandos care? I don't know. He just delivers the news.
Because Mandos is going to be like, Mandos going to know that Ulmo's going to do it, right? I mean, there's no point. Like
it's on the tapestry in his.
Yeah,
hall.
Exactly. Like it's a given. The Mandos.
Mandos is tapping his foot, like, oh, when are you gonna go?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, exactly. He's gonna be anticipating this all along. So.
I mean, I think we can be elegant with this, and I think I may have said this before, but I do think it's important that we do show. I mean, we know as people who have read the books multiple times and talked about it that the Valar are involved all the way through the ages of Middle-earth. But I think, you know, we want to be elegant about showing that they are still involved. What I mean by that is it doesn't have to be like every show or, you know, like a huge bit. But we need to sort of pepper it in there to where, and so this is kind of, to me, like one of those moments, you know, one of those psychological moments that we would show them.
And especially since we did get as Rhiannon reminds us, the Thorondor appearance at the beginning, it's almost kind of it becomes almost a sort of a framing mechanism of this, both the beginning and the end of the season. We're seeing that they're still involved. So sure.
And a glimpse. You're right, Maria, and that's what I'm talking about, a glimpse. I'm not talking about like a long thing.
Yeah, we don't need a whole council or anything.
No.
But it would be. The reason it does strike me as a time to go back and have a Valar scene, an actual honest-to-goodness scene with dialogue and not just a glimpse or a memory or a musical theme, is why Ulmo is going to be the primary point of contact. I mean, he's going to be the one who is most actively involved. I mean, of course, climaxing, not ceasing, but climaxing with the appearance from the sea to Tuor. Right? No one else is acting that way. What's up? Why is Ulmo doing, especially since he was kind of the most, you know, I was about to say laid back, that's not absentee, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, one could be forgiven if in the first few seasons you kind of emerged with the fact that with the idea that Ulmo was kind of apathetic about the whole thing, right? I mean, we show him caring in certain, especially in the times when we were demonstrating the rebellion of Ossë and things like that, right? Like we know that Ulmo isn't just, you know, completely apathetic, but anyway, I definitely think that it might be nice to sort of show how, not just why he does it in the sense of like, what is his personal motivation?
Right, exactly.
In the sense of like, how does this fit with who he is? Because it does, right? This fits with who he is. And if we do it right, it can give us a glimpse, not just an explanation of why it is that Ulmo is involved, but a glimpse into how the others are involved as well.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I'm thinking.
A little peek behind the curtain at the bigger picture of, the Valar are still tracking.
And it's kind of it's exactly. It's a reminder to the viewers, like, they're not on screen, but they're watching. You know, they know what's going on. They're keeping track. And Rhiannon makes a really good point of saying this would be a good time, too, because to remind the viewers that about Tyrion being the basis for Gondolin.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really good point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's neat. Now, Maria's suggesting maybe we do that in episode 13. I'd be fine with doing that in episode 13. Because so we had the dreams from Ulmo.
Rhiannon said we could show Reborn Angrod.
I'm okay with having more Angrod back in Valinor, right? We can develop whole post
Angrod. It could be a whole spin-off series.
Angrod
and Valinor. It could be a whole series.
Yes. We'll just call the show Angrod Lives, right? Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So no, I think it's fine because if we show the dreams in episode 10 and we show some direction that Turgon is getting here from Ulmo now in episode 11, the armor business, we could do that like the beginning of episode 13 maybe, and that's when we could do it, right? Then we could show like especially like what kind of interesting, wouldn't it, if we actually have Ulmo appear to Turgon in some form, and they actually have a conversation, and then he returns to the water, and we we follow him. We don't stay with Turgon. We follow Ulmo,
right?
And then he has a conversation with some folks.
Like he rises out of the water to Manwë and says, "It is done." And Aule goes, "You shouldn't do that. Guys should lay off.
What have you been up to? Seriously." Yeah. So anyway, that's just a suggestion. But anyway, I don't think it needs to happen here. So
yeah,
what we would be doing there is building up kind of an accumulation of, we don't know why this is happening, right? I mean, viewers might be beginning to ask the question, what's Ulmo doing, right? Why is Ulmo doing all this stuff? And then, of course, that will culminate in episode
13. Yeah.
Right, with somebody going up to Ulmo and saying, Ulmo, why are you doing this, right? I don't get this. This is wrong. So
you don't like Brian Dinnick's suggestion about maybe we could have some flashbacks to their time in Valinor where they're like hanging out with Ulmo. They're like, maybe they're best buddies.
I remember all those times.
Where you have you'd have like fun, like a collage, right? They're surfing and laughing.
Montage of them shooting pool back in the day.
Having a beach campfire and chugging beer together.
Absolutely.
A little montage. That's it. A little montage.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, but for now, he just needs to send help. The help can be really subtle, right? And I'm thinking, what if we did a kind of a, not an obvious and exactly the same thing kind of precursor, but what if we did a precursor of Tuor and the Swans, right? I mean, he could just send that kind of a sign to Turgon, right? Mm-hmm. If we see, and Turgon would, unlike Tuor, Turgon would pick up on it right away. Well, Tuor kind of does pick up on it right away, but anyway, Turgon would know more about it than Tuor did, and he would see something, maybe not swans, and then he would and he would immediately pick up on the fact that this was a sign from Ulmo. Would it be birds? Would it be something else? I mean, we know the swan.
Turgon can follow Durandor. I mean,
that would be a pretty big sign, right? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if we wanted to do the exact parallel, right, to have swans appear and he follows the swans, that's okay. If we wanted to save the swans themselves for Tuor, because swans are going to kind of be Tuor's thing, we could do that. In which case we'd need something else, and I don't know quite what else to give them other than swans. It would have to be like a bird or something for him to follow.
Has to be a bird, huh? Can't be.
He could have a dream.
There's no water. Like we couldn't.
Fish, right? Like a salmon leaping particularly vigorously upstream that he follows. That doesn't seem.
I was thinking dolphins, and they do that little thing,
Not inland.
I know that's the problem.
That's the challenge.
That's the problem. We don't have any water. I mean, there are freshwater dolphins, but there's no water. So
Well, not all the way. Anyhow, it's
yeah,
kind of awkward. Yeah.
a sea turtle could be a turtle, but that would take way too
That would be
long.
awesome, right? Turgon following a turtle very slowly across the plain. Don't worry, it's fine, folks. It's fine. Just be patient.
Well, I mean, one of the things that I was thinking was, Morgoth has his spies out, right? And I'm thinking birds might be a little, well, for sure Thorondor would be way too big because Morgoth's agents would see. So I was just trying to think, what would be some other types of animals that would get under be under Morgoth's radar, so to speak.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm being over analytical about it.
Yeah. Now, Rhiannon and I agree. We've got no living thing coming to the mountains around Tomb Lawden save the Eagles of Thorondor. The Eagles so the Eagles are going to be there. We are going to establish a relationship between Turgon and Thorondor, what's more.
Yeah, that's what Marie said, the same thing. Partners. Yeah. True. And they've already proven that they're allies, so
we don't need anyone else. All we need is somebody to lead it, something to lead him to the path, right? To the secret entrance in to Tomb Lawden.
Right.
We don't have to fly over the
true.
mountains. And I would kind of think that a meeting with Thorondor would be best arranged inside, right? So Turgon comes in, right? And he's looking around in Tomb Lawden this is great. And Thorondor could come down and talk to him in the valley. That's not something that would be seen by Morgoth or Morgoth's spies.
That's true.
Because they know the Eagles live there in those mountains.
They wouldn't.
And they're not going to be. Whereas again, if Thorondor is flying across the landscape with elves following him, that's going to look. I mean, you can't hide that.
Right. No, I think that and that would make sense too. Like you say, they live there, so it wouldn't be considered anything out of the ordinary. But in terms of Turgon's experience, it's significant because it's Thorondor coming in and talking to him. I mean, that's kind of interesting.
So Thorondor,
why don't they just fly the Eagles to Gondolin?
Fly the Eagles to Gondolin. Exactly. Answer to everything, right? It's what Tolkien obviously should have written was a series of short, Eagle Taxi stories.
Exactly.
Like one of those children's books, right?
Like the never-ending story.
Flying you to different destinations.
That's right.
That would have been the best story. So, okay. So the two options. So let's go back to him getting to the Hidden Way. He has a dream, or he follows something. He just had a dream. Right. So, I mean, it's not of course, it is a mechanism of Ulmo's, to do that. So it's not like that's ridiculous. And it would clearly link it with the vision that he had in episode 10. But it kind of seems to me that 2 dream messages in 2 consecutive episodes is just a touch lame. So, and again, I kind of like the foreshadowing of Tuor, right? So that when these swans appear in the sky and Tuor looks up, the viewers are like, "Oh, okay, I know what's going on."
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
We know what this means. So, anyway, yeah. So, so I kind of like him following something, and it doesn't have to be.
Of course, you realize what I would prefer is a parrot. You should follow a parrot.
A parrot.
We could cast Buddha in the role. Enjoy.
We cast Buddha. Yeah, it could be seagulls. I kind of like Catherine's suggestion of
or
an owl.
albatross. Big. Oh, an owl. Yeah, I was thinking an
albatross inland would look a little bit odd too.
That would look a little odd too. That's true.
Seagulls, you can get away with seagulls inland.
Owls not too bad.
I kind of like an owl. I mean, there's no there's no obvious connection between Ulmo personally and owls, but I mean, kind of like the owl.
I mean, I like the idea of it being a water bird, like a heron, for example, like
Ooh,
a great
heron.
heron or an
Heron
egret,
would be good.
one of those white egrets, the
Yeah.
giant egrets. Yeah, and they're like, they do fresh water, so it wouldn't be unusual for them to be around bodies of water or rivers.
Yeah, yeah, and no, I don't
A
think
series
that
of birds, that's interesting, starting with a seagull and ending with an eagle with swans, owls, etc. in between. And a parrot in between.
Yeah, no, yeah, okay. No, this is good. So he doesn't know. So first of all, when I say like he follows something, I don't mean that he has to like be following it the whole way. Like I was joking about the turtle, just to set him off in the right direction.
Right.
So I mean, that's really. I mean, he's going to be like, okay, so secret base, right? I need a location for a secret base, and then he sees like the heron or the seagull, right? And he sees this, and he just like he knows because he's Turgon and Ulmo is Ulmo, right? And he's kind of tuned into this. He's like, okay, I'm getting the hint, right? I'm going to follow that, and he follows the river, right, up, and so he ends up following the River Syrian most of the way, and we can show him receiving a few, like, again, pointers here and there.
Oh,
just
a thrush knocking 3 times.
Ooh, a thrush.
A thrush.
A thrush.
When he gets to the hidden way, it would have to be on, like, not in the water.
So what if at the end he sees, so I mean they're up there, right? They're around the Chrysagrim, like the eagles have their, I mean everybody knows, it's public knowledge, right, that the eagles live up on the tops of these mountains, right? So they've been following the directions of one or more miscellaneous birds until they've come up against, so they're coming up towards the Chrysagrim, right? And they look up and they see Thorondor, right? Because that's where he lives, right? And they see him circling up above, and they see him, he descends down into Tomb Lab, right? And again, now, normally nobody would care, like, because nobody knows that there's even a valley there, right? So it's not like, oh, that's going to give things away. It wouldn't give anything away. Like, okay, so he's descending somewhere into the mountains. But again, Turgon, under the circumstances, is, so he sees this and he's like, okay, that's our final sign, right? There's a valley there. And the eagles of Manway just descended into the, that is our place. So he so then he goes up and he finds the hidden way. Gosh, I really
by the way,
I love the thrush suggestion. What if
also ravens? Don't forget ravens. I mean, we
ravens.
have, because they do. I mean, they're supposed to be a strain that talk, right? I mean, we'll see them later, but
yeah. I don't know if I want to deploy ravens here, but I almost I have a hard time.
Oh, we have ravens in the frame. She said in the frame.
Yeah, with the Erebor business. We're doing
Okay.
I have a hard time resisting the idea of the thrush, actually, especially since
I think that'd be awesome.
The finding of the secret door, right?
Exactly.
This is the finding of the secret door situation.
Exactly.
You can't pretend it's not fun to have a thrush
discover
involved.
that's what thrushes do in Middle
That's it. That's
like their job.
Right? Revealing the location of secret doors, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, that we don't even need more than that. So we get one scene with Turgon, and he's like, okay, where do I go? And then he sees the first bird can be a gull, or maybe that's a little too not interesting,
or a heron,
because
or
he's on the coast, right?
Yeah.
They see lots of gulls, presumably. So a heron. Maybe it's a heron the first time, right? So he sees this heron flying inland, over the river, and he's like, okay, and so he is filled with this sort of semi-prophetic conviction, because he's Turgon.
And at that point, all he has to do is follow the river, right?
Yeah, this is a message. So we're supposed to follow up the river. So he follows up the river, and they're going to end up near the Chrysagrim, right? So he's just going to, his conviction that the message was to go this way is going to take him to within sight of the Chrysagrim. Then he's going to see the eagle descending, and he's going to say, okay, that's it.
That's the place.
Like Ulmo and the Eagles of Manway have shown us where this is supposed to be. And then they're going to come up to the wall. And they're going to be like, but we can't get in. Like, how on earth do we, if there's a valley even in there, how do we get there? And then we get the thrush, right? So that there's a thrush knocking, and he hears the knocking of the thrush, and he goes up and they find the entrance to the hidden way, and then they end up in
like
Tomb
that.
Laden. And when they get into Tomb Laden, like Thorondor can be there. Thorondor can be waiting for them. Like Thorondor can be kind of clued into. Thorondor certainly will have seen them coming, right? And when they come in, Turgon can say like, hi, we meet. I mean, he can like ask permission. Like, yeah, I know. Hi, Thorondor. I know you. This is kind of your pad here, and do you mind if we could we be neighbors? Right? Ulmo said he's kind of guided us here. What do you think about that? And Thorondor would be like, okay, we'll keep on protecting the whole ring around this, and no one will.
Does he ask for protection money? Makes
right. Thorondor's like, what's it for us?
Yeah, right.
No, but so I mean, we can have so we can show that there's going to be an active relationship between Turgon and Thorondor, and he's showing Thorondor, all the respect, and it's all good. So so that works. So we have the discovery of Tomb Laden. Now, Marie, definitely, I think Glorfindel and Ecthelion are with him. I think it's the three of them.
Three of them.
The three of them, yeah. It can't be a large party, right? But Glorfindel and Ecthelion. Right. They definitely should be there. I mean, they are his two top guys, and of course, both of them going to die in the defense of Gondolin. So, we want to associate
be there at the beginning. That's right.
Ecthelion, from the very beginning. Okay. So that can be, we're going to need to spread that out over the whole episode then, because we have the first scene with the heron, the second scene with the eagle, the third scene with the thrush getting through and finding the hidden ring, and the fourth scene meeting Thorondor on the inside, or we can bring those two together into one longer scene, I suppose. I think that's fine. I think that's fine.
I think that'll be really interesting. I think it'll be an interesting viewing.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, cool. So solve that problem. Aravel. How do we want to handle Aravel? Aravel? When is Turgon going to spring the news on Aravel? I don't think
he's not said anything to her yet, right?
Yeah, I mean, is she going to be? Does he tell Glorfindel and
I know how
before he tells her?
Aren't they supposed to be pretty close, Turgon and Aravel?
You think? I mean, she sticks with him.
Yeah.
She moves in with him. So,
I mean, she wouldn't go with them on the trip, obviously, but I would think she'd know, wouldn't she?
Mightn't she?
Oh, you think she might? I'm all for it, of course. But
I mean, we could leave her in charge instead. I mean,
that's my two favorite characters in one scene. I'd be so excited.
Right, exactly. Glorfindel and Aravel in one place at the same time, right?
At the same time.
I mean, he could leave her.
It does make sense to leave her in charge. Yeah, it does make sense. That's right.
So maybe he leaves her in charge. Maybe he doesn't tell her yet, because maybe he doesn't tell anybody yet. Maybe even Glorfindel and Ecthelion don't know what they're doing. Maybe even Turgon isn't 100% sure what he's doing. He's had the vision, right? He's had the vision. He's like, okay, this is supposed to happen. So he's still keeping his counsel. He's not told anybody yet. Not even them. He's just like, I want to travel a bit. I want to wander about. I'm feeling the need to go on walkabout here in Doriath. And Glorfindel and Ecthelion are like, how about we come with you? And he's like, okay, cool. And then, so when he goes, he finds so he's following the birds, and he wouldn't make a big deal of it. He wouldn't even be like, "Do you see that heron? It is a sign," right? He would just be like, "Let's go that way," right?
Right.
And yeah, so that'd be fine.
Does he
And
finally spill to the two guys during the trip at some point? I mean,
when they get there, I think.
You think so? Like when they get inside, or
when they get inside? I think when they get inside. So like they're coming up and they're on the, they're coming up against the Chrysaegrim, and Gorfindel and Ecthelion are like, okay, looks like a dead end to me. Is there a reason? Like, what's going on here?
Exactly. I would think that would be the point.
And then the thrush happens, and Turgon is like, "Hey, come with me." And they can be like, "Okay, like something is a little weird here, right?" I mean, they can be kind of exchanging significant glances behind Turgon's back, right? And then, but when they get into Tomb Lawton, that's when then Turgon makes a speech, right?
Got it.
As we see the the beautiful valley of Tomb Lawton opening out below them as they're standing in the in the inner end of the Hidden Way. Then he makes a speech, and he's
he could just like become overwhelmed and say, "This is it," and they'll be like, "This is what?"
Yeah.
And then he has to explain to them. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's when he explains. And then Thorondor descends near them, and then he has a conversation with them. So when they're coming back, they know. But now it's official, right? Before he knew that something had to happen, but he didn't know exactly what, and he didn't know exactly where. Now he feels like his orders are pretty clear, right? And the dream said, like, keep it secret, keep it safe, right? So he's not going to tell people in general. But he is going to now go back to Nevrast and tell Arthel. That doesn't have to be in this episode. That could be in episode 12, maybe, because we're going to start the construction and stuff. But
what are her reactions going to be? That's something for everybody to ponder until we talk about it next. She's not going to be like, I don't think she's going to be like, "Oh, that's great, I'll go pack my bags."
I've been hoping to cloister myself away for all time.
Exactly.
Exactly. This is great news, brother. Yeah, no, this has got to be a decision for her, but that'll be that's an episode
we'll kick
12
the can
issue.
on that one. Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, she's in Nevrast and she's not, and I think that he does leave Arthel and not Idril because Arthel is, I mean, they'd be a little bit sort of insulting, like, I'm going to leave my daughter in charge and not my sister. I mean, and I think actually it's a really good moment to kind of show Arthel as like a mentor figure to Idril. Right. So, that would be cool. But anyway, okay, cool. So that's fine. And wow, all right, we're like that's.
Flashing on. By the way, I just want to say, leaving her in charge of Nevrast, I'm flashing on Éowyn. Theoden leaving Éowyn in charge. I'm just saying. I don't think we need to be like really cheesy in our parallels there, but anyway.
Right. Yeah. And yes, I do agree that the Arthel gives us a wonderful opportunity, right?
Yeah.
We know that for Arthel, the issue about like going to Gondolin and never leaving again is going to be a big issue, and one that she's going to kind of regret later on, right? So through Arthel's, I don't want to say uncertainty, but again, this is a big choice. She's going to make the choice, right? But
she's going to have to move through some steps to get there, for sure.
Exactly. And
I could see her doing that and then becoming an advocate.
What a big deal it is.
Right. And then she could also turn around once she's made the decision and be the advocate and the mentor to others. I think that's kind of what Maria's saying, maybe, to move them through the process of choosing to join him.
Well, yeah, and I mean, obviously, we can't we can't have an episode where we're going through and like interviewing all of the future Gondolindrim and being like, "Tell me, how do you feel about this whole relocation project?" But
I like it. It could be documentary style.
Documentary style, exactly. We'll do a mockumentary of the building of Gondolin.
We need Ken Burns. Get Ken Burns on the phone.
I wonder what the building permitting process was like.
Well, that's the whole conversation with Thorondor, right? Like we know. We know that this is zoned as eagle terrain, right? But if we could rezone this lower part, and it will be so they have a little town meeting. But anyway, yeah. So okay, but
I
no,
think again, I think there's a way to be able to show kind of all that. Again, it could just be facial expressions or,
right. No, but I mean,
fleeting
I think
conversations or something.
she would have conversations, and I think that but that it's not come to the point yet, right? They're not moving in yet.
Right, right.
That he's going to build Gondolin, that's definite, right? And she's going to know. Many of the people are going to be like, yeah, we're 100%, like we're in. This is great. Glorfindel and Ecthelion are delighted, apparently, right? They're going to be all for this. She's going to have her own reservations, but again, we're not, it's not moving day yet. We're just the first.
She could
step,
also be the I'll believe it when I see it type. Like go along and like think, oh sure, 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 and then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait a minute, this really is going to happen. I don't know. I mean, there's different ways she could be reacting.
Yeah, I mean the other benefit of having Arthel as kind of a resistant figure there is that it will compel Turgon to explain his vision of that, not the vision that he had, but like his forward vision of Gondolin. Like, what's the point, right? She'd be like, sell me on this project, right? Why do we do this? Why do we shut ourselves away in this secret valley? Like, I can see that it would be safer, but what do you mean to accomplish? Like, why is hiding?
That's a really good point.
Right? What's the purpose of this? And Turgon has to sell her on this, and we have to make him succeed in selling her.
Right. But her resistance also could be then it won't be as a huge surprise later on when she doesn't want to be there anymore. I mean, in other words,
right.
Like she's sold maybe because of her love for her brother in the moment, but we're not that surprised where later on down the line it just gets to the point where she can't do it anymore.
Well, and here's the other thing. Thinking about it in this way gives us a really good opportunity, because the risk with Arthel, or rather the risk that one takes in depicting Arthel, is that we make her look merely petulant, impatient, right? Like she's the one who's just like, I'm so over Gondolin. I'm so bored around here. Can I get any excitement?
I can't sew one more banner.
Exactly. If I do embroidery for one more century, I'm going to scream. Like we don't want Arthel to be that kind of character, like the one who is just, again, has less patience and can't stick to the thing, and nobody else has everyone else thinks this is a little Paradise Valley. Arthel, what's your problem? We know, so here's the alternative to that, though. We know that down the road, Turgon is going to cross a line where he ceases, like his vision fails, where no longer is Gondolin doing the thing that it was setting out to do, right? Whatever it is, exactly, however it is, he sells it. What the purpose and vision of Gondolin is meant to be. We know that by the end, it's not going to be succeeding in that, right? When he's locking his gates against, those who are fleeing Morgoth, hate pursued, right? And he's not going to let anybody in. We know, obviously, when he says no, he's not going to leave, even though Ulmo's message comes. We know, like he's lost his way, right? Turgon is going to lose his way. He's going to lose his vision. I think that we have the opportunity, therefore, to make Arthel's desire to depart the first not the sign of her own immaturity, but the first warning shot. She is seeing. She's like, gosh, I really, this sounded great when you described it back in Nevrest, brother, but are we is it working? Are we doing is this happening? I think it's not working. Right?
That's great. I think that's a great just like her resistance will have Turgon have to explain his vision. This is an opportunity for her to be the narrator of something's rotten in Gondolin kind of
exactly
thing.
Yeah, Brian says it really, really well, that there's a purpose, right? And Gondolin is designed to be a means to achieving that purpose, right? And we know that ultimately Turgon's problem is going to be making that means into an end, right? Focusing too much on, loving too much the work of his own hands, right? So what if we can play it that way? If Arthel maintains her focus on the purpose, right? And she is beginning to feel the slide, right? everyone is going around a little bit too much talking about Gondolin like it's the whole point. Like, isn't this awesome? Aren't we all happy here? Isn't this just the most perfect little place that we've built here in this valley? And she's like, yeah, but remember, this was the means to an end, right? Let's focus on the end. And she's our, so they've not gone over the edge, right? But it's the first warning.
Right.
She
Right.
feels that
Right.
she sees the danger and decides, you know, it's time to start thinking about moving towards this purpose in a different way, perhaps.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have to work out all the details of that because that's not going to happen until season 5. But
Right.
but again, we can lay the foundation for this in the conversation that Arthel and Turgon are going to have when he's going to talk her over. And I do think, yes, it's her love for her brother, but it can't just be her love for her brother. You know why? She's got other brothers. So I mean, like, that's I mean, like, just favoritism. Like, oh
not
well,
just-
but you're my favorite brother, so I will shut myself away from all the rest, from like dad and the rest of our family for the rest of our lives. Like, no, like, that's creepy. I don't like that. That's not enough for
true.
me. For the
Like Marie says, she could just hang with Fingon.
yeah, I mean, exactly. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
But also
I-
to your
So
earlier point,
Turgon.
Corey.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Trish.
No.
To your earlier point, Corey, like this is where, if we don't want her to properly motivate her leaving later, this is where we really have to set it up. It can't just be
Yeah.
for her brother, because
Yep.
otherwise,
Right.
you know, her brother's
You're right.
still there when she leaves later.
right. Then she just looks fickle.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this also then means that Turgon, I mean, this speech that Turgon makes is going to have to be one persuasive speech. Oh,
Big
yeah.
speech. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
very
I mean,
clear and very visionary, you know?
yes. And this is what we were building before,
Right.
when we were thinking about the visions way back in like the
Mhm.
when we were discussing this back in the, before we started discussing the individual episodes. It is Turgon's vision for like what is best to do, because also this is the other thing that we got to keep in mind. The message that Ulmo is ultimately going to send through Tool, right? I would like to. So, originally, Book of Lost Tales, right? The first Fall of Gondolin stuff. Ulmo's message to Tuor, or Ulmo's message to Turgon through Tuor, I should say, is aggressive, right? His message to Ulmo, or Ulmo's message to Turgon, is attack, right? I want you to march out and attack Morgoth. And if you do, you will win and Morgoth will be overthrown. Because it's like prophesied and stuff. And if you do that, if you march out and you attack Morgoth, I, Ulmo, will rally the rest of the Valar and we will show up and it's going to be over and the good guys are going to win. But it will only happen, Turgon, if you march out and go. Now, by the time we get to the published Silmarillion, Tolkien is backed way off from both the like prophecy of Turgon defeating Morgoth, and he's backed off from just like that whole aggressive thing. Instead, he's just like, okay, time to go, right? It's like in the published Silmarillion, it is more like a warning that the jig is up, right? Like, okay, like, you know, you're about to be destroyed. If you don't leave now, things are going to go badly for you. It's more like what the message is. The message is much more in that direction than it is the like aggressive message. You are the champion. If you go and attack, it's going to. I would really kind of love to move Ulmo's message back towards the older version a little bit.
I was about to ask,
Me too.
are you proposing we move back toward?
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I would love to, if we could embed that somehow, a version of that into like, because again, he's had this vision from Ulmo, right? If Turgon's purpose is not only preservation, I think, but he will have some kind of an inkling, right? That if they do it, if they succeed in taking this united Elvish group, right? You know, both the Sindar and the Noldor, right, into Gondolin and keeping that secure, that it will not only be able to be a secret haven which Morgoth can neither find nor destroy. Therefore, it's not just safety, right? It's not only hiding and running away, but if they can endure through them, the end will come, right? Through them, victory will come. And he won't be able to explain that, I think. He'll just, again, remember Turgon, he has these like foresighted moments, right? So he'll get an inkling, he'll get a kind of a foresight, right? That like great good will come of it. And where his fall comes in is in his own skewing of his interpretation of that, right? By the end, he's going to convince himself that the mere survival of Gondolin is the victory, right? That is the victory that was foreseen, that Gondolin remains unblighted, and that, you know, there remains in Middle-earth the one undimmed light which remembers Valinor, and that the survival of that alone is victory, right? He's going to get it. He's going to believe that by the end, which is, of course, nothing other than him rationalizing his too great love for his own, the works of his own hands, right? Because in the end, again, Gondolin was only a means to an end, and that end is going to be the destruction of Morgoth, the downfall of Morgoth in the north.
So I feel like
yeah.
I feel like this is that we're really gonna have to thread a needle here a little bit, because I think making it too specific, like, okay, you need to go build Gondolin and build up an army and then attack Morgoth, sort of, it will end up leaving the question of like, why didn't he do that? He had very specific instructions and then he didn't follow them.
He doesn't get those instructions at the beginning. Right now, all he knows is that, like, you know, so Arathel is going to be like, okay, so the plan is we go and we hide, and if our father and brother need our help, we don't give it. Explain to me why this is a good plan, brother, right? And so he's like, okay, no, it's not just hiding, right? There is a purpose to that, and he's not going to be able to explain the whole thing. He doesn't know the details, right? He doesn't even know that it's going to be an attack necessarily. What he knows is, like, he will have a foresight which will bring conviction to him and Arathel, I think, that through them destruction will come to Morgoth. Through us, through Gondolin. If Gondolin is built and Gondolin survives, through Gondolin will come the downfall of the enemy. Right? Again, he won't know how.
If he's been foresighted before, she'll be familiar with that. So right. I mean, she's going to be prone to believe him if he says, you know, I've had foresight of, you know, he doesn't necessarily have to be real specific or know all the details, right? Because he has a premonition.
Yeah, exactly. And she knows him well enough to know that, like, his premonitions are good. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, Brian, I love that. Brian says Gondolin, to serve its true purpose, has to be temporary, but Turgon is not going to be willing to give it up in the end. In the end, he is going to have to remember Frodo's words, right? You know, in order for things to be saved, someone has to give them up, right? He's going to have to give up Gondolin in order to save Middle-earth, right? In order to save everything, right? And he's not going to be willing to do it.
And to Brian's point also just before that, which is that also is the break with Arathel, because she's wanting to save Balerion and he's only focused on Gondolin, and she's not behind that idea.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I want to make Arathel totally blameless, right? I mean, I think that part of what is going on can be impatience on her part. She does not want to play the long game.
Right.
But you know, so I'm not. I would be okay with having Arathel at least some in the wrong. I just don't want to make her look pitiful. I don't want to make her look petulant.
I've always thought of her as being very restless. She gets restless.
Yeah, exactly. That's totally part of it. Part of it. But it's just not exactly, Maria. She's not simply bored.
Exactly. No. Right.
So yeah, we give her this other thing. She will have some genuine reasons for being increasingly uneasy with like how Turgon talks about Gondolin, I think, is what will make her uneasy. Anyway, but again, that's a season 5 thing, and we'll get to there in time. Cool. Yeah, I like this. So okay, but before the end of this episode, Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I do really like this direction, by the way. But I do think I do think it could be, it's going to be a little tricky to make sure that that Turgon doesn't look disobedient. You know, like he's not simply defying what Ulmo told him to do, but somehow
Right.
he the message gets lost somehow. But also make sure it doesn't look like Ulmo's being deliberately vague and weird. You know, like why don't you just tell him what you want? But I think we should. I think this is the right direction to go in. I'm just thinking it may be a little tricky.
We need to be
Yeah, I
more.
mean,
We need to be nuanced. Yeah.
it is. Yeah, I mean, prophecy in this way is tricky, right? Like what, because you have to. Yeah, it's hard because it does bring up, Dave, as you're implying, the logical question of like, well, okay, if you're going to tell him the future, why didn't you just tell him the whole future so that he would know better what to do and not screw it up, right? He wouldn't have screwed it up if he'd known. Yeah, I mean, we have to.
But I think we can. I think if we're careful about the way we portray this, like just show that like in the delivery of the prophecy of the dreams and stuff, and the way that Ulmo communicates, that's just not the way it works. Like he doesn't send you like a specific set of instructions and like very clear imagery and all that. That the mechanism of the prophecy, like that there's a component of like you have to be in the right frame of mind to receive it and interpret it properly.
Right. And actually, one distinction that we can make there, the vision that Ulmo sends is just about Gondolin itself, right? That he needs to go and establish this safe haven. That further idea of like, and that is a foretelling that could come upon Turgon. That doesn't have to be from Ulmo, right? That could just be a Turgon thing. That he has this moment of foretelling, and maybe it only comes out when Arathel challenges it, right? He shares with Arathel the picture and everything, and she's like, no, I don't understand why. And then he tells her why, right? And then this foretelling comes upon him. And that's why it's vague, because it's just a foretelling that he himself is having, anyway, that's a possible way to handle that. But anyway, okay, let's go to Doriath, and we'll finish episode 11, and then we'll begin episode 12, all with thinking through the Doriath story here, because that's kind of one sort of larger arc there. So the stuff there are two different Doriath threads in episode 11. One is Finrod and Thingol, and the other is Thingol and Celeborn, right? With like obviously Galadriel plays a role in the engagement as well, but the real tension is between Thingol and Celeborn. Right? That because this is the moment when it's going to be revealed that Celeborn knew
about the
kinslaying and didn't tell him. Right? So my first question, these two separate threads, Thingol and Celeborn, Thingol and Finrod, are they linked? Do they precipitate one another in any way? Do we have Finrod coming to talk to Thingol, which of course raises the whole kinslaying, because it's the first time he's been there since the whole kinslaying news came out and the ban, and they left awkwardly after that, right? And he's not been back yet, right? So we have this be the first time that he and Thingol meet since Thingol instituted the ban. And because Thingol himself didn't leave even when his armies came earlier on, it was just I almost said Mablung. So we're going to be raising the kinslaying issue by Finrod's arrival. I suppose it could be as simple as Finrod and Thingol have their first encounter, and then afterwards Thingol is like, debriefing with Celeborn about his meeting with Finrod, and that's when it comes out that Celeborn knew. I think Celeborn should tell him. We shouldn't have Thingol just find out in some way and then come.
Yeah.
because now like there's no harm done. Like it's not like he's not gonna suddenly spill all of Galadriel's secrets, but that particular one, like the fact of the kinslaying, like that the barn door is open there. Like I don't think there's any protection to be offered to Galadriel further by not even mentioning that fact, right? It's not a secret. So in that second conversation, as they're discussing the ban and the kinslaying and Finrod, Celeborn's going to drop the bomb on him, right? And be like, yeah, okay, so should probably mention, I already knew. In fact, I've known for years. Now, so let's.
What
so
would
there are
be
two.
Celeborn's purpose in telling Fingal that, though?
That's exactly the
Why
question.
would it come up?
Yes.
It's like, I cannot tell a lie. I mean, like.
I chopped down the cherry tree with my.
Yeah. Except that I've been telling you a lie for years, except now in this moment I can't.
I cannot tell a lie anymore. Let me specify. I can, in fact, tell a lie. I have been telling a lie. No. Okay. Hang on. Well, let's back up. Let's back up to the first question first, which is to the first question first, which is how does that first conversation go? So when Fingal, because maybe it'll help us see more clearly how and why Celeborn springs it, if we can see more clearly both how the conversation between Fingal and Finrod goes and what the fallout is from that. Like, where is Fingal's head at the end of that conversation?
The other thing that could make Celeborn lose his temper is if Fingal starts dissing Galadriel and he goes, "Oh yeah, well I've already known about it." I mean, or it's like I made my peace with it already, or something.
Oh, actually, hey, Rhiannon has a great suggestion. Rhiannon says Fingal was mad at Finrod for concealing the kinslaying, right? He feels personally betrayed by his kinsman Finrod, whom he likes very much and has trusted, right? And so Fingal could be kind of opening up to Celeborn and being like, yeah, you know what really bugs me? People that I trusted who knew about the kinslaying and didn't tell me. That's what really burns my biscuits, right? And Celeborn would be like, okay, so bad news on that front.
Well, that would be even more reason for Celeborn not to say anything to him.
Which makes it the more, bold for him to say this. Celeborn is going to be advocating for Finrod, essentially, right? I mean, that's going to be one of the
okay. Yeah.
Because Finrod comes for help, and Fingal is like, how can I work with him? How can I trust him? Why should I participate? When I can't trust them, and he's like, no, you can trust them. Yes, he did not, because I mean, we know Celeborn is our wise and witty counselor figure, right? I mean, so he would be saying to Fingal, like, come on, Fingal, put yourself into Finrod's. I know you're upset. I get that, right? I'm kind of upset about it too.
Or Rhiannon's got another great idea. Maybe Finrod goes to Galadriel to ask for her help in convincing Fingal, and Galadriel goes to Celeborn to give him permission to tell Fingal that he knew about the kinslaying, or to tell him to please tell Fingal that he knew, or something like that.
Oh, because he's made a vow to her that he wouldn't tell.
Right,
anybody.
that's what.
So she releases him from his vow.
That could be as a way to help Finrod.
Yeah.
Good job, Rhiannon.
That's interesting. Yeah, Matt is wondering if maybe Fingal wants to kick Galadriel out of Doriath, and Celeborn is
I was thinking along those same lines, Matt, that he starts dissing Galadriel and I want to kick her out, and Celeborn, is prompted by
my whole problem here. She's been there the whole time, right?
Yeah, that's true.
She's been there the whole time, and why now, right? I mean, unless she gets all up in Fingal's business about Finrod, right? I mean, maybe she's there and he's like, why should I trust you and everything, and she's like, Galadriel is fed up with it. She's like, okay, I get it, you're upset, you've been sulking long enough, now suck it up and be a part of the team already. We're all trying to oppose Morgoth here, so get over yourself, right? And then he's like, okay, that's it, right? I mean, unless something blow up like that were to happen, I can't see why he would be focusing on Galadriel here. And that would kind of seem unpolitic even for Galadriel to blow up like that. two options. I'm not sure. I guess so. Like the releasing him from his vow. And yet Maria's right. Showing Celeborn to be willing to do what Galadriel says is not only an apt foreshadowing of Celeborn's entire future career, but is also a kind of rebuke to Thingol, right? A preemptive rebuke to Thingol. Like, hey, Thingol, not only am I going to marry this girl, but you know what? I'm going to show you how you listen to your wife when she's wiser than you, right? I'm going to set myself up as a little role model, right?
Right. I'm going to do what you did not.
Exactly. Or do what you are not going
What
to
you
do.
are not doing, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I kind of like the releasing him from his vow thing, but again, I'm not sure that really it applies in this. Like, he's going to still keep her confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should even show him doing that, right? Like, Thingol might push him, like, what do you know? Like, where, you know, even one of those things where he's like, how did you know? And Celeborn's like, I'm not going to tell you anything more, but like, I'm just going to say, like, you know, sometimes Thingol, people have good reasons for keeping things from you, right? Like, it's like, you can trust me, you know, you can trust me, but I knew about this and have been keeping it from you because I had a really good reason to do that. And that's not a betrayal. And Finrod is, you know, he's not betraying you personally either. Like, he also had good reason. So like, maybe, like, I'm not saying you have to be all thumbs up on the kinslaying, but like, maybe you need to have a little better perspective on, you know, what's going on here with your allies.
Brian has an interesting idea too. You know, that's another angle there.
Right. If Thingol, right. So Thingol could expect Celeborn to reject Galadriel when he learns about the kinslaying. Now, does he know? So, all right, hang on. Preliminary question. Galadriel and Celeborn, open secret, clandestine smooching. Are they like? Are they an item? Is this known? Have they carved their initials on trees around Doriath? Like, how public is? Do they even know? Are they dating? Does Galadriel think they're dating? Like, I'm like, where is their relationship right now? Like, does everybody know about it? Is everybody?
I had assumed that they were known.
I feel like open secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Marie, they're definitely in an it's complicated situation. Because okay, so like, how many times have we shown them? We showed them in episode 5, right at the Marathoner Thought, which was the time when we had her opening up to him for the first time, and him promising that he would keep her secrets. That was 6 episodes ago. We established there that he was getting her to open up. He is helping her to work through her issues and her own sense of guilt, and her own sort of hatred of herself, right? There will come a point, obviously, at which they are going to move out of the friend zone, right, and into an explicitly romantic relationship. But has that happened? I'm not sure that has happened. Like, couldn't they still be in the, like, she relies upon him as friend and counselor, and the two of them are like close, and he's totally into her, but like there's, I mean, again, they're kind of in a sort of a counselor situation, right? So he's not going to want to be like moving too quickly because that's creepy, right? With the whole, like, I'm your counselor, you can tell me your secrets, and it's totally not just because I'm trying to get you in the sack. So I think that it would go slowly.
But as Marie points out, we want them married by the final, so it needs to happen like nowish. Now,
right.
What
so
about
my point is,
Galadriel doesn't know her own heart, but Melian does, and she says to Galadriel,
he's all about
girl.
it. Yeah, he's all about it, right? So his his response is to propose to her, and so when he proposed, his proposal is like the shift out of the friend zone, right?
Okay.
And she makes the choice to be like, okay, yeah, right, no, I'm seeing this. Okay, there was a scene with them in episode 7. Marie or Rhiannon, do either of you remember what we had them doing in episode 7? Were they smooching?
I was going to say it seemed like we had.
Smooching
It
at the
seemed like
time?
we had forwarded the relationship past that.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe we got. Is
Now
this
you
what
remember us talking about that it was kind of like an Eowyn Faramir thing where it creeps up on her slowly,
kind
sort
of.
of deal.
Yeah, creeping up on them slowly. I mean, they're elves, right? Come on, elves don't do whirlwind romance. They don't do whirlwind anything, right? So like the gradual, like, we've been friends for countless centuries, let's make it official kind of relationship is totally how elves would roll, right? Okay, we had them in the woods together, inventing words and riding in a boat. Well, that's perfectly platonic. So yeah, so we show them their continuing relationship. Okay, so we show that like she opens up to him first at the Marathon, and then 2 episodes later we show them being friends and being close. That's cool, right? But like, no smooching, right? We've got we still have like the the 3-foot rule, right, going on between the 2 of them. So now, right now, with exactly, Trish, as you said, the knowing her own mind thing, right? At last, like, that's what we show here. So we do have this. I mean, again, it can even be almost a kind of anticipation, right? Because I mean, of course, if you think about it, Faramir also was making the moves on a woman in a psychologically and emotionally fragile state of mind, right?
That's right.
Whose healing is made sort of official at the time when she recognizes her own heart and says yes to him, right? So we can even parallel that,
right,
sort of moment, right? Between Celeborn and Galadriel. That's kind of fun, actually. But they haven't had this conversation yet, I think, right? I think they haven't had this conversation yet. So I think they're still kind of in the friend zone, though I don't doubt Melian certainly knows, right?
Oh,
Melian is certainly watching them being like, oh,
Melian's
yeah,
probably like, oh my God, girl, would you just come on already?
Exactly right. Only so many cryptic hints I can drop, Galadriel. Come on. Seriously.
I mean, the guy's like a mooncap around you, for heaven's sake.
Exactly. And you're never going to find another guy who's going to be this patient. You want somebody to stand by your side and, like, look decorative while you rule realms for the rest of your life. You're not going to find a better candidate than this one. So yeah, I mean, he's a good listener and everything. Man, this is great. He's sensitive. So yeah, anyway, great. So perfect. Now, therefore, okay, so I'm thinking, do we want then to, I think that we don't want to do Galadriel and Celeborn together until the proposal scene, right?
And at what point is he proposing? Is he proposing after he's told Celeborn he knows about the kinslaying, or before?
Yes, after Fingal, yeah.
After.
Yeah.
Okay. After I told Fingal, yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. After he tells Fingal. In fact, this is going to be like the impetus for him to, because so Fingal's reaction is likely to be something like, you need to be sure about where your loyalties lie. And he's going to be like,
son.
Yeah. And he's going to be like, okay, I know where my loyalties lie. Galadriel, right? Like,
right.
This is it. Okay, so let's back up again. Finrod comes back, and he's coming back. Finrod's attitude coming back. He's coming back. So on the one hand, he's sort of conciliatory in a diplomatic way, but he's not coming on hands and knees, right? He's going to come to Fingal, and he knows that Fingal was mad, and he understands why Fingal was mad. But he has come back because he does not want to allow that relationship to die, right? He knows Thingol's not going to reach out to him anytime soon, right? Thingol is pretty clear he can stay mad for a while, right? So Finrod is coming back. He is making the conciliatory gesture of visiting again and saying, hey, you know, granduncle, can we talk, right? Is it okay? Can we talk? I think it's important that we talk, right? And Thingol's like, okay, but I'm still mad, right? And Finrod is like, okay, but here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about, like, I had this vision, right? So Ulmo, dream, right? I'm supposed to do this thing. And his implicit message, I don't think he's too diplomatic to actually cross the line to doing anything that sounds like berating Thingol, right? Or criticizing Thingol. But what his speech is going to boil down to is, Thingol, I'm diplomatically providing you with an opportunity still to be a member of the team here, right? Like, we're all in this fight together against Morgoth. And so here's what I want to do, because remember, Thingol's vision for his secret fortress is going to be that it's going to be part of the defense organization, right? He's all about the leaguer, right? He's all about walling Morgoth in. So he's got his forward base already, right, on Tolsirion, which is still around thanks to the battle, which just defended it. And so that's already kind of proved effective, right? It was the bastion where the armies of Morgoth stopped, right? And they turned them back. So he's going to be like, hey, so that worked out and that was great. Now Ulmo says, build a secret base. So, hey, cool. So I'm going to build a secret base. I'd like it to be kind of a little further back. So, but it's going to be this like place of refuge and a base from which we can then operate and help to, keep Morgoth in check. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. Yes, good, Marie. He's also flattering, and he's like, right, I see what you have here in Menegroth. I think this is great. I think, Ulmo's dream has me thinking, like, okay, you've got the 1,000 caves, and it's great, but if I could find like maybe 500 to 600 caves that I could build a fortress in, it won't be as cool as Menegroth, but it would be great. And part of the plan, and this would be awesome. So what he is doing is he is gently, diplomatically giving Thingol the opportunity to re-engage, to show that he's not just going to be petulant, that he's not going to cut himself off. And I think that we show Thingol gets the message. I'm thinking he's willing to do that. We can't make Thingol too bad too soon, right? He is frosty, I think, in his reception of Finrod, showing that he's still upset and has not forgotten. And especially, of course, and he's particularly upset with Finrod because he feels like he was personally betrayed. But I think he hears Finrod's message, and he goes along and he's like, okay, I'll help, let me think about it. And then he goes to Celeborn. And when he's talking to Celeborn, he's like, okay, Finrod wants help with this and whatever. And Celeborn is like, yes, this is a good idea. I think we should cooperate with the Noldor. And I'm all about joining together with the Noldor. I think joining with Noldor is a brilliant idea, Thingol. Let's totally do that. And then the conversation comes around to, like the personal betrayal. Like maybe he confesses to Celeborn, the thing I'm still struggling with is like the person. It's not just the political thing, but it's not about trusting, working with the Noldor in general. It's like Finrod in particular. I feel betrayed. Celeborn, I think at this point, Celeborn would have to feel compelled to confess, right? That, it's because if he sits and listens to Thingol saying that and then doesn't say anything,
Yeah,
and Thingol
that's true.
Later, that still wasn't telling him, that I think makes it worse. But especially if Celeborn can use this as like a teaching moment to say, look, I think, again, like he can say, I understand how you feel, but I don't really think that Finrod was wrong to do what he did. He wasn't betraying you, right? He wasn't, he was, he had his reasons, and oh, by the way, so did I. So Thingol's response to this, he either could get super upset and yell at Celeborn and be like, okay, no, I thought that Finrod had betrayed me, but you have seriously betrayed me, or he could go in the other direction. I kind of like Thingol being angry, because then Celeborn's like, I'm going to stick with Galadriel. I'm going to double down, and I'm going to stay true to, because Galadriel would hear about this, right? If Galadriel heard that Thingol is really mad at Celeborn and feels betrayed by Celeborn, maybe their engagement conversation begins with her saying, hey, like, I hear Thingol's super mad at you, and it's my fault, right? He's mad at you, and the reason he's mad at you is because you didn't tell him, and you didn't tell him because you were keeping my confidence, right? So, like, I have come between you and your oldest friend. I have come between you and your king, and that's not right. So, like, I'm gonna go. Like, I'm gonna, you know. So it's okay. And she releases him from his vow, right? You can tell him whatever you want to tell him. Tell him it's my fault. Tell him I, trapped you into it or whatever. It's okay. I'll leave, and you can patch things up with Thingol, and everything's going to be fine. And he's like,
I like that.
heck no.
Yep.
He's like, that's exactly not what's going to happen here. He's like, I don't want you to leave. And then he like has his like romantic engagement speech, and we have swelling music and elven smooches, and then he goes back to Thingol, and he's like, P.S. I'm going to marry the Noldor. Isn't this awesome? Marrying a Noldor, it's happening, and this is cool. So how does Thingol? Again, I don't want to make Thingol just the, jerk.
Well, at some point, at what point do Galadriel and Celeborn leave Doriath? I mean, is that still a ways away? So are they staying in Doriath? After they get married, are they going to be staying? And it's obviously, if they do, that means Thingol has come around and said, okay, just don't, you can stay here, but I don't want to see your faces. Or something.
You can stay. Just in the next block over. Yeah, you can't live here anymore. You've got to, caves number 996 to 997 are yours. Way over.
Way down
there. Yeah. In fact, we're going to create a new cave 1001, which has a long lead tunnel. Yeah. The career of Galadriel between now and the Second Age is pretty open, really. We've got some options here that we can do. Right, Rhiannon? We do have Galadriel still there before the Beren and Luthien story.
That's right.
In the book. I have to say, Rhiannon, though, as far as jobs to do in the story goes, being the person to whom Melian says that is not the world's biggest job. That would be a job easy enough to reallocate. You could tell somebody else that if we wanted to. I'm not saying we definitely do want to. I mean, I don't think I really like the idea of them just moving out here. On the one hand, it's a little bit cool. I mean, Brian, I kind of like the idea of there in fact being some kind of real cost, like Celeborn. There's a real cost to Celeborn for marrying Galadriel. It's not just like Thingol is mad for a little bit, but then he's okay and everybody's happy after that. It doesn't have to be that way. There could be a real cost, but I don't really like the whole. There's a whole like we're being kicked out of Eden feel to that, and I'm not sure I like that.
Well,
at all.
It could be more that they stay, but the relationship with Thingol has changed so much that they then at some point choose to go. If they're not banished, they choose at some point.
Yeah, exactly. That it's not that Celeborn just, and that's what Brian was suggesting before, that
right.
He just like he does not he does not have the confidence in Celeborn anymore that he did
Right,
before.
exactly. He's not in his
Um,
councils anymore. He's
not
basically
not in the
sidelined.
same way. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, boy, that's going to be an interesting. The future career. By future, I mean between now and the War of Wrath. The future career and trajectory of Galadriel is going to be almost as interesting as the future career and trajectory of Sauron, both of whom vanish pretty quickly and are never heard from again until the Second Age in the published texts, right?
That's right.
So
You can't do that
that's
though.
interesting. Yeah. That's, I think, going to be very interesting in both of their cases. But yeah, no, we'll have them stay here. But again, I don't want Fingal just to be a villain. I don't want him just to be a jerk. I think that Celeborn needs to win him over. We can still do that thing about having there be long-term consequences to their relationship, but still have Celeborn and Galadriel basically win him over, because he's going to help Finrod, right? He is going to remain sort of, I mean, he's never a good team player, but he's going to be part of the team, right? He's going to agree to help Finrod.
Well, and Melian could have some influence there, couldn't she? I mean, we know he doesn't listen to her a bunch, but I mean, she could be part of this reconciliation, reconciling him to,
Do we
to
want to
Celeborn.
have a conversation between Melian and Fingal where she talks him around? So Fingal's response.
So instead of it being Celeborn that talks him around, it's basically Melian that does, or
yeah, like what Celeborn has a talk with him. So right, so
Right.
Finrod and Fingal talk, and Fingal is gently like, Fingal, you should really. I understand that you're mad, but you should join the team, right? Help me out, please. And by doing so, rejoin the fight with the Noldor. Show that you're willing to work with the Noldor, right? And Fingal's like, well, okay, I'll think about it, but I still don't like it, and I'm still kind of mad at you. So then he goes to Celeborn, and they have this conversation. Then after that, he's like, and no, I'm really mad at Celeborn. Celeborn, people,
I can't trust anyone.
Right? Yeah, I can't trust anybody. So he goes back to Melian, right? So Celeborn goes to Galadriel. He goes back to Melian, and he goes back to Melian, and he's like, what am I supposed to do here, right? Like, it seems like I can't trust anybody. And basically, I would think that her message to him would be something like, both Celeborn and Finrod, that neither one of them betrayed you. Like, they
Right.
both of them are thinking, like, they are doing what you're not. That is, they are thinking first of the big picture. They are thinking of the elves joining together in this war against Morgoth. Even though Celeborn had a little personal agenda in addition, but nevertheless, he's like he's working closely with the Noldor, right? And so anyway, so she but I think point out to him that it is good for them to work with the Noldor. For him merely to retain a grudge and say no, and she could also perhaps be the one to point out to him that the Noldor have by and large complied with the ban. Fingolfin said they're going to do it, right? And she could ask him something like, what more do you want?
Right.
They cannot undo what they did. What more from them do you want? What more is it reasonable for you to ask? And if it's not reasonable for you to ask them to do more, you've said your continuing to work with them is, to not be their enemies is conditional upon their complying with your not 100% reasonable ban. They've done that.
Right.
What do you want, Fingal? Right? Work with your grandnephew. And as for Galadriel and Celeborn, and maybe there she understands. Right? He doesn't know. He won't tell. Celeborn won't even explain to Fingal why he didn't tell him, because he's going to keep Galadriel's confidence. Right? He's not going to mention Galadriel's name. Right?
Yeah.
Fingal going to be like, how did you find out about it? Why didn't you tell me? And he's going to be like, can't tell you either one of those things. I just knew. I just thought it's important that you know that I knew, and I had reason to keep silence, and just like Finrod did. And so she's going to be like, honey, for real? Like, you haven't noticed this? Like, you can't make a shrewd guess as to where Celeborn learned this and like why exactly he's keeping this secret. Um, uh, and then of course, like, they're gonna get engaged and come in, and Thingol's gonna be like, oh, okay, now of course, my wife was right again. Um,
But he'll
yeah,
immediately forget that fact right after he remembers it.
yeah, exactly. Having him learn that listening to his wife is good is a good thing for us to show, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because then it makes it the more egregious when he doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that direction.
So that shape, I think, works. Now, Celeborn's sister, the Green Elf. I know folks were wondering about how Celeborn's sister, the Green Elf, will react to the engagement. What were you guys thinking about this? First of all, is she there? And if she's there, why is she there? Isn't she in Osirian? Participating in the, like being the executive officer of the week in the anarcho-syndicalist commune that is the Green Elves of Osirian. She was at the Meritata. I thought, yeah, that was ages ago. That was episode 5, right? How
And
many
probably
years has it been
hundreds of years ago.
Right. I'm not saying she can't be there. I have no objection to her being there. I was trying to figure out why she's there. Has she attached herself to Thingol's court? If so,
I
why?
would think if she's off on a Syrian, because I actually like the idea. I think it was Marie said earlier that that's someplace they could go. Like when Galadriel and Celeborn leave, they go to his sister in Osirian.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They're like, hey, let's go live with the Green Elves. They're less judgy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Well, okay. So, how do we think she's gonna see? I don't know. Maybe it's just. I don't know. Like,
Kind of.
maybe it's because I live in New Hampshire, and so I sort of picture the Green Elves that like they live in Vermont, and so I imagine the Green Elves as Vermonters, like really laid back and like wearing Birkenstocks and smoking just a little bit of weed. So like I have a hard time imagining his sister being super upset about it. I think that
or that she'd be
Thingol
that
is the one who's
concerned about it, really, right?
Yeah,
because she's got her own people and her own thing going on.
I think she'd be okay. I know that she'd be close in a sense. She's a Teleri also, right? So it's not like the kinslaying, like the Green Elves are like, oh, kinslaying, we don't care. They'll care, but I don't know. I have the whole the thing that does it for me. It's the way the Green Elves don't take another king after Denethor, right? Then they have no leader. That whole issue, which is of course make a list of the things we know for sure about the Green Elves of Osirian, and it's a short list, right? Post death of Denethor, we don't know all that many things, and one of the only things we know about them is that they never really take a leader. They just seem kind of, a little free flowing. Yeah. Oh, right. Rihanna is reminding me that she's in the frame. Right. She is in the frame. We had her showing up in the frame.
Oh, she could mention something about in the frame. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
if you want to have her have a reaction, or so she'd be relating it basically later.
Yeah. Well, so here's the issue. If she's there, then her reaction, of course, can be poised against Thingol's, and I feel like we need an excuse for her to be there. There's no reason she couldn't hang out with them for a while, and they're elves, so hanging out in Doriath for a few centuries on your way back home is no big thing.
But I'm just wondering, with all the other stuff we've got going on in this episode, do we really need her to be in this episode?
Yeah.
Other than maybe in the frame.
And if she's not there, if she's not on the spot, she'll hear about it off in Osirian whenever they get around to informing her by whatever mechanism they use. It won't be immediately. In fact, I have an awesome idea. Oh, this is classic. Okay. So they send a message to Celeborn's sister by an Ent who is wandering by. So later, like halfway through season 5, we show Celeborn's sister Ent finally getting to the end of telling the news Yes, I love it.
Well, we have occasional interludes where we show the Ent like on its
Yeah,
journey.
Yeah, several episodes, like episode 2 of season 5, we have this Ent talking to Celeborn's sister, and the subtitle is like, "I have news." Like, and now for my exciting news. Come on, that is comedy gold right there. Oh, yeah. Can make Treebeard himself could give the news. Why not? Oh, an Ent messenger. That is the best idea I've had in a long time. Yeah. Now, Marie, I agree. They could go themselves. Yeah. So, like, honeymoon in Osirian. Why not? Like, how lovely, right? I would go to Osirian for my honeymoon.
Oh,
Why
I
shouldn't
would,
they?
boy. Yeah, not laid back, relax, no stress.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of blows my Ent messenger plan, but
Is the Ent messenger like the Middle Earth equivalent of the like invitation, where you send the invitation via Ent, knowing that
right. So by the time the invitation is conveyed, the thing happened 150 years ago. Yeah, guarantee you'll not show up.
If we don't use it now, we need to keep it in our back pocket.
Oh man, somebody's got to send something by Ent messenger sooner or later. Oh, that is too wonderful. Yeah. No, Maria, I agree. I mean, Treebeard is there's no reason he can't get to know Galadriel and Celeborn, and I kind of like the idea. Somebody suggested, Rhiannon was suggesting that Galadriel and Celeborn live with the Green Elves, so that when Beren and Luthien get down there in Osirian, Galadriel and Celeborn are there too. You know, so post resurrection, Luthien and Beren live with Galadriel and
maybe
Celeborn.
so it sort of becomes the place where odd couples go to live.
Odd couples, yeah. Yes. It's the retreat for socially for
outcasts,
lovers who cross social boundaries, right?
Right. Yeah, that's it.
To our unconventional lovers commune in Osirian, right? Because the Green Elves will accept you no matter what, right? They're totally.
Right. Like, it's cool, man.
It's exactly cool. Like Vermont. Anyway, no, this is great.
Exactly like
Vermont. That's it. I've got it. Okay. So
one thing about Thingol I wanted to toss out there.
Okay.
Because I think I share your feeling that on the one hand, I think Celeborn and Galadriel's sort of character growth are served by Thingol being in opposition and giving them an opportunity to stand up to him. But I also kind of don't want like stereotype, like there's just gonna be so many moments where Thingol's a jerk. Yes. It's like, is this just like one more moment? So I was thinking maybe this time he doesn't have to be happy, but maybe he could be like more, rather than angry, he could be wounded or sad or hurt in some way, feeling betrayed, and so maybe he doesn't like fly off the handle, but maybe he kind of just withdraws from Celeborn.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rather than him, because yes, you're right. We don't want to make him. He's going to be upset with Luthien and Beren, right? So we don't. Yeah, we don't want him just to be the like guy who's just never happy with anybody and who's always yelling.
The Ralph Cramden of Doriath.
Ralph Cramden of Doriath. Yeah, exactly. No, I like that. That he's just sort of stunned and hurt, and that would help with he goes to Melian scene, right? Because then he just goes to Melian and is like, I don't know what to do, and then she's just like, okay, And
by the way, go ahead.
I was going to say that also changes. If she's comforting him, that's a little bit better than him being mad and her coming to him and basically saying, okay, Thingol, it's time to put your big boy pants on and act like a real king, right? And not that she wouldn't say that, but again, better for their relationship not to be like that all the time also.
Right. By the way, I would say that I guess we have, as far as set locations are concerned, we have our set location for Assyrian then, right?
Vermont, absolutely. Yeah. No, totally. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And well, the only problem is it's going to be hard to find a landscape in Vermont that doesn't have like solar panels and
Oh,
wind turbines. But I'm sure we could probably find something.
we could always just airbrush them out.
Yeah, exactly. We may have to, but yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. No, that's good. I like that. I like that, Dave. I think that's a good addition. And again, and I especially like the impact that has on the Melian Thingol conversation. If she is comforting him, then because we can make it a tender moment for the two of them as well. You know, show them not as king and queen, but as man and wife, and that then prepares us. So then, when Celeborn and Galadriel comes in, and Celeborn's like, "Thingol, I know you're upset and stuff, but Galadriel and I are engaged. Like, we're going to be married." And Thingol surprises him by being like, "Well, okay, like that's fine, right?" And he accepts it, and everybody sort of celebrates, and Finrod is super happy, and
Actually, that does make more sense because the marriage that takes place next episode is going to be kind of a
big deal,
keystone of the episode.
Yes,
so, yeah,
exactly.
you'd want Thingol to be behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want him to have to elope. Yeah, we don't want him to have to elope.
To Assyrian.
Yeah, to Assyrian, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, no, that works. That works. Good. I'm thinking we don't, with all these things we've been talking about, we don't have time to begin construction in this episode. I think construction needs to wait till episode 12 for either Gondolin or Nargothrond. Because we're not even getting to, we haven't even gotten to Nargothrond. We've just established that, like, he's gonna
Right.
get help, right? And he's gonna subcontract that out anyway. I mean, he's gonna, you know, so Thingol's answer to Finrod's request is going to be going to Mablung and being like, "Hey, aren't you friends with that dwarf guy, right? That dwarf ambassador who's been hanging out here for quite some time, right? Maybe he could help, right? Does he? I mean, the dwarves helped us to find Menegroth. Maybe they could help us again. Ask him if he has any suggestions, right? And that's what then starts off the Norn and petty dwarves subplot, which is gonna happen there in episode 12. So yeah,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, and Brian, I agree. That sets us up to show distance, as you say, between Thingol and Celeborn afterwards, without, you know, just again making Thingol look like he's in a snit, right? He's forgiven Celeborn, but like their relationship isn't the same anymore. Like, it's been changed, and neither one of them really can kind of totally get over that fact. No, I think that's a very sensible way to sort of show that proceeding without Thingol becoming too one-dimensional there. Okay, cool. Well, it's late. Let us glimpse. I want to glance at where we're going in episode 12, and then we'll start with that next time, right? So things that we're going to be following up from today's episode, that is from episode 12, which we've been discussing. Arathel's farewell tour. So Arathel's going to be deciding whether or not she's going to get the pitch from Turgon, and she's got to decide whether she wants to go. And so the suggestion was that she travels around as part of her decision process, right? So she does her farewell tour. I really like that idea. We're going to show captive Noldor and Angband. We're going to show the building of Nargothrond and Gondolin. That's got to happen there, and that involves, of course, centrally those petty dwarves, that petty dwarf plot line that we talked about way back. And then we're going to look at the building of Gondolin. We're going to have the Ulmo's got to appear to Turgon, because Turgon's going to be getting, by the end of episode 12, things are going to be pretty close to ready, right? It's almost moving day for Turgon and the Elves of Nevrast, so Ulmo's going to appear and give him the armor specs and stuff and tell him to leave it. And then we're going to get, now he's got to do the pitch to everybody, and everyone in Nevrast is going to say, like, yeah, let's sneak away. Arathel's going to make her decision to go along with him, right? and then maybe some other Angband stuff. So you can see how this is all following on, going to follow very closely on what we've been establishing here in episode 12, and then of course we get to the final episode, episode 13, when Glowering is going to come out and disrupt things. So, okay, excellent.
Good work.
I think that was good. I think we made a lot of excellent progress here today. I know we only got through one episode, but that was some good stuff.
50% of what we set out to.
Hey, it's all good. I actually think that we set up a lot of what's going to happen there in episode 12.
I was just going to say that.
That is
I think
true.
we did a lot of setting up. Yeah.
We actually did spend a lot of time talking about stuff that we ultimately didn't get to. So.
Yeah. No, I think it's going to. Figuring out what Arathel's going to be doing and the whole decision process with Gondolin, we've already laid the foundation for that. So, yeah, episode 12 I think is going to fly by next time. Absolutely.
Excellent conversation.
Yeah, very good.
Absolutely.
So, fun as always. So, in our next session, we are going to shoot for doing episode 12 and 13 to finish our episode discussions for season 4. That is our goal. And stop laughing at me.
Sorry.
That's our goal.
I was just thinking I should do a betting pool. Maybe I'll open a betting pool thread on
we'll
this.
See. We'll see. Okay, so that's going to be next time. And next time is going to be next week on the 19th of September.
That gets us back on our old schedule.
On our old schedule. Exactly. So, yep. Okay, great. So we're going to get to the final episode. Then we're going to be looking towards the postseason. So just a reminder, in the postseason, the post-production episodes, what we like to do is review the things that people have submitted, artwork people have drawn, set designs and suggestions, maps, location photos. We're gonna come back to the casting and look at suggestions for actors and actresses to play the parts that we discussed earlier on. So all that stuff is the stuff that we're going to be talking about Phil's music that he's doing. So remember, if you would like to be involved in any of that stuff, if you'd like to submit any suggestions or any work that you have done or have been thinking about doing, now is totally the time. Go to our discussion boards and you'll find places to post those things. Also, the next script discussion, they're doing a script discussion for this very episode that we discussed, and that's going to be on Friday night, September 27th at 7 p.m. So people are invited to attend the script discussion where we do outlines and scripts for the actual stuff that we are laying out here for them, and see if it actually can work when you really sit down with it.
And that information is also on the message board. So
yeah, if you want to like the specific links and stuff for attending those, you can get those from the discussion. Okay, very good. Well, thanks everybody for joining us, and I will say as always, thanks for listening and Godspeed.
Although the theoretical budget of our hypothetical blockbuster may be unlimited, the production budgets of this and the rest of our fun alternative educational projects are unfortunately not. If you have enjoyed joining our production team, please consider donating at signumuniversity.org/fund.